Welcome to the Podiatry Profits Podcast, where you will discover how to get more patients and multiply the profits of your practice with minimally invasive foot surgery, proven marketing systems, and ethical influencing to your patients. And now, your host, board-certified podiatrist, best-selling author, speaker, and founder of TJ On Coaching and Consulting, Dr. TJ On.
All right, I'm here with my friend and also our mastermind member, Dr. Trevor Haynes. He practices in the Portland, Oregon, and we met probably 2.5 years ago or so now. And obviously, we started with the minimally invasive surgery. But again, I'm so happy to have you here. And then we're just gonna basically chat and hang out, and don't worry about the editing part. We're just gonna kind of let it roll. And how you doing, Trevor?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to do it.
Cool. So yeah, tell me like kind of briefly your current practice setup in Portland, Oregon. So I kind of remind me a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so currently I have 5 locations. They're kind of spread all around the periphery of Portland. Kind of hit all the way. My 5 locations really circle right around downtown Portland. I don't really have anything in downtown, but and I have an associate. There's myself and an associate doctor. We're getting ready to bring on a third because we just can't cover all the locations. A couple of them are ready to, they're bursting at the seams to open up another day, and both of us don't really have another day to do so. So we'll be bringing on a third, and things just keep growing. We're not doing anything crazy. We're not doing anything out of the ordinary. I think we just, focus on providing a good service to patients and treat them like people, and offer them things like minimally invasive, which isn't done a lot out here, and things just keep booming, which is great.
Yeah, so we just spoke briefly before we hit the record button. I really want this podcast really just to be transparent and open, and just kind of not really focusing on having like Dr. Face, because I'm sick and tired of those shit, we see all those poker faces everywhere, and I just want this our show different, that we're humans. You're a podiatrist, yeah. I'm a podiatrist, and we have enough places that we have to have Dr. Face on, doctor language, and I really see we're tired, like a lot of podiatrists. I mean, I talk colleagues, they reach out, inquiry about cadaver lab or my programs, but then I just had like two calls with 2 podiatrists today and yesterday. It's the same damn thing. Doesn't matter where they practice. It's like they're hurt, not so much financially, but what I see, it kind of saddens me that, they're burnt out, and then they're forced to see 30 to 45 patients a day. And then one lady doctor I just spoke today, she's in Pennsylvania area. She sees like 40 patients a day. She doesn't go home until 8 p.m.,
Right.
Yeah, so we need place where we can vent out too, just kind of where we can vent, Yeah. So what do you see in, like you were saying earlier? What do you see in current healthcare or current podiatry? Like what had you in mind earlier?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Part of the reason I joined your mastermind and your minimally invasive was because I felt the same way. I was. My story. I hired an associate a couple years ago, and it just was a horrible experience. I mean, I'm not going to lie. She was, the associate was terrible. My practice is focused on treating people like people, and that associate didn't do that. And she drove one of my locations into the ground, and I'm still trying to recover from it. And just from that, I was at the point where, this is a joke that we're all having to run this rat race. I mean, it's no surprise that doctors are burned out. It's not because I think that we want to see 40 patients. It's because the insurance game, we have to see, some feel like they have to see 40 patients in order to be successful. I kind of disagree with that. I mean, my practices, I've got 5. We're ready to hire a new doctor. Things are really good, and we average about 17 to 20 a day. That's it, right? So nice. I think it's a matter of, and I don't do anything, like I said, I don't do anything crazy. I'm not doing anything. I'm not diving into the gray area. I'm not pushing the limits. I'm doing what any other podiatrist does. I'm just making sure that my billing and my coding's correct so that I'm not shortchanging myself. And I've spent a lot of time taking courses, and I made a lot of mistakes in my first year and a half on those billing and coding things, and I figured it out on my own. And I tell my associate, well, it's your practice that I let him do, and you can run it how you want in the matter of treating things, but you can't just, oh, hey, I got somebody with plantar fasciitis. Yeah, go get some Voltaren gel off the counter and let me know how that goes. It doesn't do anything for your practice, right? And that's kind of what my associate was doing. And I'm not, again, not I wasn't trying to tell this person how to treat their patients, but a lot of times we get caught up that I'm really big on this, that people, you go through the schooling and the medical school and the residency, and it's patient. Yeah, but what about the doctor?
Right?
We're people too. We've got to make a living. We've got to, we've got to provide for our families. And medicine is still a business. And I don't know why people seem to forget about it, especially even patients, right? They come in demanding discounts, demanding to negotiate. I had a patient, for example, just really briefly, a patient come in. I saw him in the hospital, non-insured, has a good job, but just doesn't have insurance. And I had to do a toe amputation, and the hospital had their charitable group call me and say, hey, this guy doesn't have insurance. He owes you about $800. What can you do for him? And I said, nothing, right? I mean, I did my work. And they're like, well, can you discount at half price? And I said, if he pays today, I'll let it go to like $550 if he pays today. And they're like, there's nothing else you can do. And I said, I basically told this person, well, if he can go to the gas station and the grocery store today and get all of his groceries and his gas for free, and he can prove it to me, then he can come back and I'll give him all of his medical care for free. And they were like, well, that's just unreasonable. And I said, well, then you've got my answer, right? And it's not that I'm not trying to be generous. It's that, I provided a service, and I have a business, and you discount to everybody, and you have to see 40 patients a day to make things work.
Right.
So it really is, and that's what drew me to your model is, while I have 5 locations, and it's really hard for me to just jump away from insurance and go to a concierge type practice, but it's insurance that's burning people out. It's insurance. Yeah. It really is.
Right. It's really mindset of doctors, because it's like we're kind of victims in such a way that the education system, how we learn from our school through the hospital-based residency program, insurance talks about CPT codes and regulations. I mean, all this, really, before we know it, we get brainwashed. And,
absolutely.
Again, it's saddening to see that when I talk to doctors, they all base their worth of their surgical skills to CPT codes. And then I'm like, that's a bullshit. Like, okay, well, CPT code, if Medicare or other insurance company reimburse for bunion bone surgery $200 down the road, then are you gonna say, oh, thank you, insurance, thank you for giving me $200, so that's your worth now? Right. I mean, currently,
I was just going to say, take a look at like a toe amputation, right? I mean, I know they got rid of the global for it, but what do you get, $110 to amputate a toe?
Oh my God.
$120?
Yeah, I didn't
Like,
even know.
come on.
Yeah, and bunion currently like what, $400 to $500
Yeah, yeah.
for bunion, 90-day grace period, and you can't even like they make it so tricky. You can't even do another foot even without adding the modifier. I mean,
Right.
I'm so glad I opted out of these insurance
No,
plans.
I'm super jealous of you in that aspect. Someday I'll get there, but
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now,
it's definitely case by case too, and
Sure.
I would not suggest any colleague to opt out of insurance plan overnight. You know,
no,
this
yeah.
is definitely need to be looked at deep. We need to analyze it. We need to look at the numbers. Nothing we make a decision based on emotion. We have to definitely make very solid, logical decision based on data. You know, and
Right.
but after all, I mean, you're very talented. You know, I went through a lot of different doctors as a clients, but just some people have that talent in kind of developing more locations, and so just some get it and some don't. In my
Sure.
I cannot do it. I tried 3 locations and then it drove me crazy. So
Yeah.
you know,
It does get stressful.
yeah, my ideal model for like most doctors I'm helping with is like, can you create simple or efficient, minimum viable first, and then you start focusing on developing your niche skills, and you know, offer and package around that niche skill. Then you need to learn how to talk to patient about cash pay and concierge type of model. Then you need to create a marketing around it. It's basically 3 pillars, you know, the niche, marketing, and how to talk to patient to increase patient acceptance.
Right.
Yeah, but however, your situation, I understand. You know, you built from like 2, from nothing to 3, then suddenly now in a couple of years you're working with together. Now you're like, before I blink my eyes, you're like 5 locations now. So
Yeah. The last
how do you
one.
handle that stress?
Do what?
How do you handle like stress level?
I mean, I worked for a hospital before I started in private practice, so that was super busy. I went into podiatry, and I would tell everybody this when I get asked, "Why'd you go into podiatry?" And I said, because they pretty much work banker's hours. And up until recently, I've never known what that's like. And I kept telling myself, what am I doing? This is not why I went into podiatry. And I don't mean it in the aspect that I'm looking for an easy job. I'm a huge, I have 4 kids. I like to be at home with my family. I guess you could say I'm a huge family man. That's the way I grew up. I like to spend time with my kids, enjoy, what they do and hanging out with them. And I wanted a profession that would provide for my family, but yet afford me the time to be at home. And, up until, I went I worked for a hospital. It wasn't the best situation because we were in South Dakota, which, not a huge fan myself. It's super cold. I liked the job, but it just didn't work for us. So we left, and I decided to do private practice. And the goal was private practice was it would be tough in the beginning. Then we would grow it, and I could actually start to enjoy the life I wanted. However, then I got roped into taking call, and then soon it was at 2 different hospitals. And before you know it, I'm back to working 70, 80 hours a week.
Wow.
And until recently, I think December 23rd, I gave both those hospitals the goodbye that I'm no longer doing call.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, it's night and day. My life, I feel like I have so much free time. Like even if I work 50 hours a week, to me, I just freed up 30 hours a week. So life is good right now, really good.
Yeah. How did you feel when you say no to hospital? I just kind of want to dive a little bit deeper in the emotional level. Were you scared to do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to say, I felt bad because I was kind of leaving them in the dust, but I didn't. I felt great. It felt really good.
Well, because you're not the only one. We feel
it felt really good.
Like Yeah, we feel like we're the like some reason because we're good people by nature, doctors, podiatrists. So like, oh my God, if I stop going to hospital or if I opt out of this insurance plan, what am I doing to my patients?
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
guilty trip, that guilty trip, that was big mindset shift for me. And for me, it's like, shit. I have other colleagues. I'm not the only podiatrist there. We have other doctors who will be happy to take these patients
Yeah.
for these people. I mean, why do I have to feel guilty? So I was just wondering if you felt,
No, you hit it. You hit it right on the head. Right? You feel that guilt that I'm going to leave all these doctors hanging with these diabetic foot infections and trauma. I'm going to, what these patients that need care where they, if they can't find another podiatrist or if it takes a while, who they going to turn to? And then that's not my problem.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The
And what
hospitals
about,
have they have
yeah,
way
what
more
about
money than I
us?
do. Figure it
Yeah, what
out.
about us?
Yeah, figure it out. And and to preface that, I wasn't getting paid for call, and I've been doing it for 8 years.
That's crazy. You are not getting paid for calls for 8
Nope.
years. Yeah.
But you think about the diabetic foot infections we see, and then I don't really know, but then think about like an ophthalmologist, right? How many times are they getting called to the ER for something in the eye, right? I suspect, I don't know for a fact, that it's far less than diabetic foot infections, and yet they're getting $500-600 a night, depending on where you live, and they're like, yeah, podiatry, you don't need anything, you're good.
Yeah.
It's
That's
ridiculous, right? And the hospitals do kind of, they're like the insurances almost. They try to make you feel guilty that you're walking away from them, right?
yeah.
And no, it felt great. I mean, my stress level, like I really didn't understand what it was like because I hadn't done it, and
Sure.
now I look at it and go, yeah, how was I managing 5 locations and taking call at 2 places?
Right. And you
Right?
cook 4
And the
kids.
big eye opener, the big eye opener was when my wife and my kids kept saying, my daughter would say something, and I'd try to be the disciplinary in the thing, and she's like, "Well, what are you talking about, Dad? You're never home."
Yeah.
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 To me, that was like, all right, things got to change. Things have to change.
So you definitely free up more time and you got a little more time with your family now?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I can actually get out and maybe do some golfing and fishing that I haven't done in who knows how long. But I really enjoy it. But I never had time to do it.
Yeah, let's talk about that too because again, we live once. We all know we
Right.
live once. And we're like our prime time of our career. After we probably pass like 60, 70, some people, yes, they still do exercise and all, but obviously physical well-being might not be as good as right now, where we can really spend quality time for our kids, but also for ourselves, for the things that you love doing, like you just mentioned, golf and fishing. I mean, the way it goes, if we don't do anything about it, time flies. We're in a one-way ticket. And once we pass this 10 years, 15 years down the road, even if we regret, I mean, what can we do? Nothing,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
to really, yeah,
I'm part of like another mastermind that does just like wealth and building wealth and asset protection and things like that. And the guy that started it, he's a kind of I don't want to say financial planner. He's more just kind of a finance guy that became a financial planner in a way. And he does it kind of differently. But he kind of mentioned, I believe it was him, and hopefully it was, but he explained that we live life completely backwards. Like most people on their deathbed, when you ask them what was their greatest time in their life, and they said it's when their kids were small. And when our kids are small is when we work the hardest, and when they're adults is when we finally get time to do something. And by then, those good times are gone,
yeah,
right? And that is really how we do it. We and I get you got to provide, but we really live life backwards. We really do.
Yep, I totally agree. I mean, my kids, they're 9 and 6 right now, and I can see this is prime time. They need daddy and they need mommy. attention, they're developing social skills, and they're bonding with family.
Yeah.
Yet I'm so happy whenever they have their games and chess games and golf,
Absolutely.
piano, whatever it is, I can be there, you know.
Yeah.
But if I didn't change my lifestyle like seven years ago, it would have been impossible. I would have still gone with like 40 patients a day that I used to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like today, I just had a small exhaustectomy of a toe, MIS in the office, and a chylectomy. And the first case started at 10:30, and the second case was at noon. So I took both my 5 and 7-year-old to school, and it was like liquid gold to them. Like it made their day because I was home to take them to school. And I mean, those are the things that you're gonna, your kids are gonna remember, whether or not it's that specific incident or activity or whatever you're doing with them, but they're gonna remember the times that you spent with them, right? You don't want them to remember the times you were never there, right? And that's really my goal, is to try to change that aspect. And your program really brought that to light, that I'm like, I'm doing things all wrong. And so's everybody, right? That's the thing. That's how medicine is. And we're taught to be guilty, like you said, to feel guilty if we do it any other way.
Right. Yeah. I see that as a huge mindset block. You and I just know, because we went through this transformation. Again, it doesn't have to be the way that we learned in school, you know? So yeah, I mean, you accept it and you start implementing minimally invasive surgery, which makes it so easy to do it in the office setup. It doesn't require a huge, expensive hardware system. Patients love us and love these surgical techniques that you and we both eyewitnessed, and we see this every week. Yeah, you don't have to travel to hospital. You don't have to take calls. I mean, those are the first step first step is to realize there's other way. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, even before I joined you, I think I either ordered your book or I watched a couple of your podcasts, maybe even a year before I contacted you, and I said, this will never work in Portland.
Yeah, I remember.
I just put it off to the side. This will never work. Like, I get it, but it'll never work here. And that's just wrong. I agree. You can make it work anywhere, because when you provide something like you teach in your mastermind, something that nobody else offers, and you're good at it, and people see the value of it, they will come to you for it.
Yeah, you just start.
Regardless if you're cash pay or insurance based, right?
Regardless, because even if we take insurance plan per se, they still have a ridiculous amount of deductible, and co-insurance is like 20%, 30%, and patients know they have to pay out of pocket, and they know if we take them to a hospital, their 30% co-insurance of whatever amount that hospital charges, it's like $3-4 grand, and they're scared, So if we can offer different skills that get them on their feet faster, and then they don't have to go to hospital, they don't get additional bills,
right?
They don't have to mingle with other people at the hospital level that worry about all this now, the virus and all these things going on.
Yeah, I saw an article here in Oregon. They're telling people to mask up all over again over these RSV things. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can't mask up for the rest of our lives.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how much we should believe. You see, now it's like COVID what? Now we were in that fear mode. The whole world was in fear mode for 2 years, and now it's like. Even in Illinois here, I mean in Chicago, really not many people wear masks,
Yeah, same here. It's same here. I just happened to see an article that some state officials are pushing for everything to mask back up, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And it's like people are saying, I do it to protect myself and other people. Well, but it's like, and I can understand that. I'm not knocking that. It's Are we just going to start masking up for prevention of everything? Like, it makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. We can't live our lives masking up and in fear of everything. We can't. What's the point?
Yeah. I mean, these stuff. I mean, if anybody's listening to this, I mean, they should consider there is a way. So my first goal, whenever I create a live webinar or seminar talk, live, my goal is like, hey, it's not they take my program. It's shift their mindset. Even one aspect of it, if I can help them shift their mindset, I'm like patting my own back. I'm like, TJ, you did a good job. If I hear other doctors come up to me or, send me email or text me that, TJ, you changed how I think podiatry, then my goal achieved, So if anything, like you said too, there are many other ways that provide you light at the end of the tunnel. So if you feel like, if somebody listening to this or watching this feel like, man, I have like nowhere to go, I feel like I'm stuck, I feel like I'm just like inside a rat race, trying to do the same thing over and over. But hey, guess what? If you don't change the way you run practice or live life and expect different results, Einstein says that's the definition of insanity,
Exactly.
Yeah, doing same thing over and over and expect different results.
And nobody's going to change those things for you. You've got to do it yourself.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to really take action. So, cool, man. I want to talk to you a little bit about. Maybe I'll put you on the spot in a way, but I know you had huge increase in revenue and profit margins increasing, and then we just celebrated inside of our mastermind. But what do you think, if you can maybe like narrow down to 3 to 5 things that made that possible? Like what would they have been?
I'd say probably number one would be virtual assistants, 100%.
Right? Yeah.
And I say that not because there's various reasons, but the big thing for me is I use them in my own practice. I have 5 virtual assistants that do anything from check-in patients to just doing scribes, doing eligibility, stuff like that, right? And I'm not looking necessarily for cheaper labor. I don't care about that. But they know how to get the work done. I don't have to, hound them to get it done. I tell them to do something. I mean, depending on what it is, 5 minutes later, it's on my desk. Here's the information, doc. Here's everything. I give it to sometimes my staff in my office, and I hear back 3 days later. Right?
Yeah.
So there's efficiency with my VAs, but also getting a good billing company. So the billing company I use also employs VAs. And so while I use a billing company, the person that really does my billing is a virtual assistant. And she is on top of every claim. She coordinates with me and my associate. Hey, this got denied. I think it's because of this or this. And can we add this? Can we do that? How can we fix this to try to get paid? And it's, I before that I had 2 or 3 in-office billers. I've tried 2 different other billing companies. That type of communication never happened. It never happened. So efficiency, I say VAs, that number one. Number 2 would just be efficiency in billing. And I think number 3, while you could throw MIS in there, I think it's more just realizing the value of what you can offer people. No matter whether that's MIS, whether that's cash pay ancillary services, doesn't matter. Just realizing the offer that you give people. I carry, as most podiatrists do, your over-the-counter orthotics, right, in your office. And, you buy them, we all know that they're a good moneymaker because you buy them fairly cheap and you sell them for a decent price, right? And, I would sell them for $50, but then when every time a patient would get them, I'd say, oh, no, give it to him for 40, give it to him for 40, give it to him for 35. And you can't do that. You can't do that stuff. You can't. You just have to feel comfortable talking to, and you mentioned it earlier in the podcast. You got to be comfortable talking to patients about money. It's $60. Is there anything you can do with that? No, I mean, these are worth every penny of that $60. They're $60, right? Yeah. You offer a laser package, or I did Shockwave, right? Oh, it's $100 a treatment. I'll tell you what, if you do it, I'll give it to you for $75. That is the wrong way to do business, right?
So as soon as we go for pricing voluntarily, we just commoditize ourselves.
Yeah,
and you're just devaluing yourself, your services, and then patients will think now, okay, well, it wasn't that easy, right? So okay, I'm just gonna keep discounting all of these services. So that's not the right way to run your practice.
And that's why people come in trying to negotiate their care, because we let them, right? You can't go into the grocery store and negotiate the cost of your loaf of bread. You can't.
Yeah. Well, so I just want to make sure. So let's not confuse. By us having conviction in our value of treatment solutions, when we see the real need for certain patients, now that enables us to provide pro bono, like someone who really deserves it, right? We're giving people, we're not just trying to receive here. We're just trying to receive what we deserve,
Correct.
Yeah.
The other, and you teach it in your mastermind. Again, I've learned it in my other wealth mastermind, is that, money is not the root of all evil. It takes money to help people.
Yeah. I mean, if we don't have any money, how can we contribute?
You can't, right? You want to give somebody that really, really needs the help. Maybe they truly can't afford just that simple over-the-counter orthotic. You can't give it to them for $60 if you're not making money. You can't.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just something simple. But you can't help people unless you're making money. It takes money to help. It really does.
Totally. So let's say so far your one reason was virtual assistant. Second, you changed the billing company. Third, unique offer like minimally invasive surgery and ancillary services. And fourth, we should be able to charge what we deserve.
Yeah. The value, realizing and really recognizing the value of your services.
Yeah, totally.
And I think because, again, not saying, not going into too much detail, but since I've joined your mastermind, from year to year, my revenue has doubled.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And I set it really high, just, again, I'm not saying I'm the most efficient practice, I'm the best practice, but just to throw a number out there, last year, my gross collections was 1.3 million, and my goal this year is 2.5.
Yeah, let's make it happen, my friend.
And even my associate looked at me and goes, "Wow, that's a pretty lofty goal." And I said, "Is it though? Is it? I still, I think we can hit it, no problem. I'm not concerned about it."
Yeah. Oh man. So that's where, again, abundance mindset. You set your value, you set your goal, aim high, and then we just keep firing at it,
Yeah. And above it all, my goals and my ambitions remain the same. Since I decided to go, when I was an undergrad, I went on a medical mission, and I loved every minute of it. And my wife knows, my family knows that my ambition has always been to start some sort of nonprofit, charitable kind of medical mission. I want so badly, and that still remains my focus. It doesn't matter that I'm making whatever, or I'm doing this. That's still, at some point, I would love to get to a point where I could retire and just run a nonprofit type medical mission. That would complete my life. I would be good with that.
Mission
again, you can say I'm greedy for wanting 2.5 million. No. I want that so I can get to where I want to be.
Totally. I mean, I see this as totally achievable. And, like you said, in order for us to create a charitable organization, and in order for us to be able to provide and giving, we need resource, which is, typically money. We have to have a money to give. And then we need to have time. You need to have, the time to do it. And then you need networking, so that you can bring some other people who are willing to donate. I mean, this requires time, resource, and networking. And if we're like stuck in this forced volume-based model, there's no way. We're never gonna. You cannot even support for our own family. I mean, how can we? How
are you gonna care for other people if you can't care for your own family?
Yeah. So you were right earlier. You said like we all go backwards, and it's so true. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to an associate, a past schoolmate of mine in podiatry school, and good friend of mine. Like we hung out a lot in podiatry school. I haven't seen him in a few years, and he told me he's finally leaving the job that he's been at for 8 years and going somewhere else where he's going to do much better. And I kind of said, hey man, what are you? How much are you making like right now? And he's like, I make the same amount I did when I first started this job.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I'm like, for 8 years you've been just, and I'm going to tell you, it's barely into the six figures, barely.
Wow.
And I'm like, for 8 years you did this? I'm like, you're undervalued in your practice.
Yeah, he's not the only one. He's not the only one.
No, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I agree.
Yeah, it's not like we're much better than others, as far as skill goes. Most of us go through surgical residency and all equally capable. They just need to open their eyes, and there are other ways to build and grow their practice. So that's what keeps me going, what I'm doing, past 5 to 7 years. It's like awareness. Hey guys, you don't have to live your podiatry, your career like that,
Yeah. Well, it was actually, so, bring up another funny point. I play basketball a couple days a week, early in the morning, like 5 a.m. before I have cases with some of my Arthrex reps. Because while I do minimally invasive, I still do some hardware stuff, right?
Right.
And one of them made the comment about we were just talking he made a comment about what's called a TFP, and I go, what's a TFP? And he's like, a total effing podiatrist. And I started laughing like what it was, and we started playing hoops, and we played with these random guys, and we got done because they needed to head to cases, and I need to get to work. And one of the guys comes up to us and says, hey, we play every Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. And we kind of said, yeah, normally we're out of here by 6:15 because we have to work. And he said, this guy said, well, it's Friday. Who goes in before 9 o'clock anymore? And one of the reps made the comment. He's like, well, if you're a medical device rep or a TFP, then you gotta go in sooner. And this guy goes, what's a TFP? And he told him it's a total effing podiatrist. And he's like, who's a podiatrist? And I'm like, I am. He's like, man, you guys don't make crap.
Oh, shit.
And I said, I beg to differ. But, it goes back to, what's the public perception of us?
That's a good point, too. We can talk about it. Yeah.
Are we just toenail clippers?
Yeah.
Like, what gives that perception to people? Probably because we're pushovers. We feel like we have to prove something to everybody.
Right.
And we don't. Just be yourself. You don't got to prove anything to anybody.
And make a lot of fucking money. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say this to our mastermind members and, close friends. I mean, when I came to United States, I thought, being Asian and, English as a second language, I thought my first goal was to become a doctor. So I thought okay, if I become a doctor, I'll be respected and probably, different status quo or whatever, When I became a podiatrist and I came out to real world, just like you said, they treat us differently, even medical professions, right? So it made me think hard. I felt social bullied, by other professions in medical world, and you know what I'm talking about, fucking
Yeah.
politics and shit. But more I see it, I realize, okay, just become a doctor is not enough. I have to be successful in finance wise and money wise. I have to not necessarily to prove to show off to other people, but I just wanted to see what made us feel like pushover and kind of subordinate and like feel weird about being podiatrist in front of other people.
Yeah.
Man, after I started becoming like making a lot more money than other specialists, and then they see how my lifestyle and how I convey messages to other people, finally it changed.
Yeah. I think that's a lot to do with it, right? It's that perception of you guys don't make garbage compared to other doctors, so why should we respect you?
Right. Unfortunately, but that's the reality in real world. Yeah.
It is.
Once you start making like 6-figure, once you start hitting 7-figure, I mean, not many medical professions make 7-figure like you do. Yeah. I mean, that's why these reps, they just like look down upon us, and then yet they try to sell their fixation system to you every week.
Yeah. Well, the reps they're good guys. They weren't talking to me about a TFP. They were referring to some of the other podiatrists that put themselves on a pedestal above other podiatrists.
Oh, I see what you mean now.
I'm really good friends with these guys. So they weren't calling me a TFP. They're talking about the podiatrists that think they're on a whole nother level. Not by a financial standpoint, but more of I'm just better than you. I'm just better than you. Ego. Yeah. That's what they were referring to, right? So they joke around and they call me. They don't really call me a TFP, but that's what they're referring to.
That's another thing. A lot of podiatry. Why we have this harsh, kind of almost in a way violence with words, or like backstab each other among podiatry. I think really the root of that is ego. That
it is.
Where does that ego come from? They're trying to pretend to someone who they're not. So
it's insecurities. I mean, that's where it comes in any aspect. Right? Insecurities. There's enough people to go around. Everybody has 2 feet. They've got 10 toes. There's plenty of work. There is no reason to put yourself on a pedestal above somebody else. And when I came out to Portland, there's some podiatrists in here that helped me a lot to get started. But my main goal was I knew I was going to be the outsider. I didn't do the residency program that's here, and typically we know residents hang around where they did their residency. But I told my wife, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make myself prove that I'm better than everybody else. I'm here to meet my goals and do what I want with my life. I don't care about the other stuff.
I love that. So I know you're like, you set goals and you achieve goals and you set priorities, not to show to someone else. It's really you said what? Like meet your goals, achieve your goals. I love that.
Yeah, that's what my whole practice is based on, and I tell my associate that, I tell my employees that when they complain about this and that, and I go, then change it, right? You're the only one that can change how things go. Don't let other people influence how a big thing in our family is when one of our kids or somebody says they were like offended at school, and we tell them that you're only offended because you chose to be offended, right? You can't, you chose to be offended. If you just brush it off and let it go, then it's gone. But when you choose to be offended, then you start to hold these grudges. And, you can be as egotistical, podiatrist, dentist, family practice. I don't care. You're not going to offend me at all because I'm not here to prove anything.
I think that's your secret.
Except to myself.
Yeah, I think that's your secret. We all need to learn also how to set that like a different perspective, that your choice not to be involved, whoever the assailant or negative force coming at you, you're like absorbing it like kind of black hole, right? Like
Yeah.
don't let that bounce off of you upon emotion, but just like, okay, that, you choose not to listen to it. You choose to dissolve it. That's awesome. Yeah, I like that. Maybe that's the secret that you can handle stress. Dealing.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
wife definitely gets more stressed out than I do, and my response is I'm not worried about it because it'll work itself out. At some point, it may be 6 months, it may be 8 months, it'll work itself out. And it actually, and saying that brings me all the way back to where when I was applying to podiatry school, I had gotten in. I was actually originally looking at going into dental school, but at the time, dental applications were like off the charts. And you had to have like a 3.7 or a 3.9 GPA. And I'm not going to lie, I worked full time during college. None of my family's ever gone to college. So to say I was the valedictorian, you're wrong. I wasn't. And I remember I got into podiatry school, and we went up, we put a deposit on a house in Cleveland because I went to the Ohio school. And a week before, I get a call from the dean of the school saying they rescinded my seat and I'm not going to be able to go to school. And they basically said, well, it's because of, they looked at it as like, at the time they were accepting the DAT instead of the MCAT. And I'm like, well, why do I need to take the MCAT if I already took the DAT and I scored really well on it? And they told me I didn't need to take the MCAT, and they told me this, and they're like, well, you didn't take the MCAT and you didn't do this. And to be honest, your grades are somewhat subpar, and this and that. And I told the lady on the phone, I said, I've worked really hard my whole life. And I'm like, I don't care what my grades show, what you see, what's on there. I go, failing podiatry school is not an option. It's not going to happen, right? I can promise you right now that's never going to happen, right? And, I took it upon myself. I emailed the dean of the school. I emailed like the AACPM over like college, podiatry admissions. And, the very next day I got a call from the actual dean of the school, and he's like, we're giving you your seat back, right? But it just kind of goes back to the same thing. For me, failure's not an option.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm not going to let it be an option. I will find a way to figure it out. And that's my wife's favorite saying is everything is figure outable.
I agree 100%. Even my kids, when they give up on some kind of problem they're facing, and then that's always I say to them, hey, if there's a problem, there's a solution,
Yeah, absolutely.
When I came here, again, with very little English, I mean, how can TJ survive in America when I was already 19 years old? And I didn't have any family with me. I came straight to Tennessee, and I just ran into a lot of, the culture problem, language problem, but then all worked out, as long as I know there's a solution for everything, you know?
I mean, you did it the right way, right? You need to figure something out, get thrown in with the wolves and be a wolf, right? Get thrown right into it and figure it out. Don't tiptoe around the outside, go right to the heart of it and figure it out.
Yeah, so after I look back, that was the right decision. But then, I would probably do it again. It was a hell of a ride, and I don't regret any part of it. Sure. That made me who I am, and that still formed me so that when we see these problems, I don't give up that easily. Really, I cannot remember any time I give up on something. Once I make a mind to it, and there's always way to fix it. And I think like millennials and younger generation, they tend to give up a little bit too quickly, Yeah, like try to find the easy way or by giving it up, and then, but come on, you went to school for it, and you did a hard residency program, and then again, we don't deserve $500 for bunion. We don't deserve $120 for toe amputation, like you said. So a lot of colleagues have debt, still student debt,
It's just a slap in the face, right? What other profession besides medicine is as highly regulated, as we are? I mean, the government has laws in place to prohibit us from making our full potential.
Correct. So I try to fight for it, appeal it, deny it, appeal it, then you get audited, like kind of like almost a scolding on your ass, right? Hey, don't try to resist me, listen to me, behave, be a good podiatrist, listen to us, then you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
So my choice was, again, I decide just not to play with them. I just decided to go on my own, opting out, and then no contract between me and them. So nobody can really tell me, hey, you signed the contract. You got to follow the rules and regulations you signed up for. I don't have a contract, so that freed me up so that we can set our own pricing table, own fee schedule, own concierge program that patients who are so happy with, and then provide the best solutions,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when you take out the influence of insurance, you really are able to offer patients the best care.
Yeah, man. I just want you to touch a little bit on that virtual assistant part that, I still can. Even if you are in my mastermind, you went that far with the virtual assistant that your front office is now replaced by virtual assistant. So can you tell me a little bit about it? That's still crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest issue was during COVID, as we all know, nobody wanted to work, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, when the government's giving you money because of COVID, people just didn't want to work. And again, I'm not trying to necessarily point fingers at the government, but people just didn't want to work. And we would hire somebody, train them, in 2 weeks they'd quit. Hire somebody, train them, 2 months they'd quit. It got old. It really did. And so we're like, all right, I've got these 2 virtual assistants at the time. They do this and that. And I'm like, what if we just buy an extra computer screen, create a dual screen, put it up on the check-in counter, flip it around, open the camera, face the patient, put them on a Zoom call so that they're front on the screen so they can see the front door. Patient walks in. First couple times it scares the patient when the VA goes, hello, ma'am, how can I help you?
From the computer screen.
Or we'd have to remind them, hey, you can check out with the guy on the computer screen on your way out. But that's how we did it. And patients resisted at first. Right. But then they'd come in and like one of my virtual assistants' name is Kevin. They'd come in and say, "Oh, hey Kevin, how's it going? Yeah, so and so. I'm here for my 11:15."
Oh wow!
And it worked. It worked great. It's not perfect, but it got us through those times where we couldn't get anybody up front, right? And I think that there's something to say with having a warm body in your office.
Sure.
It definitely has a more personal touch, and people like to, the friendly interaction of somebody actually sitting there. But it was a great option for us at the time, and it got us through that those personnel struggles. We're starting now to get better people in our offices, so we're scaling a little bit back from that virtual check-in type thing, but it's something we can always fall back on if somebody calls in sick, right? Just
sure.
Put the screen in, flip it around, and put our VA on the screen.
Yeah. So I made some predictions for podiatry for 2023, and then one being minimally invasive surgery and office-based surgery will be more in demand. And 2, increase of virtual assistance and remote team culture will be more norm in 2023. And then another one is like those artificial intelligence I just shared with our mastermind member. Artificial intelligence is super hot right now, and I believe if podiatry and other medical professions can capture that ride and like embrace it and implement that into medical marketing, it will save so much resource and time and payrolls and whatnot.
Oh,
And yeah, we'll develop. I'm gonna see. Definitely, that's my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using that AI to just, I'll go in there and say, write me a poem about bunions, and it busts it out, and I just copy that. I just copy that, and I put it in my Instagram.
Exactly.
Boom, boom, and there's my social media post for the day. It took me about 2 minutes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, now I let the AI create outlines for my YouTube video script.
Yep.
AI create my email newsletter, and then convert it into shorter form for social media posts, Instagram. I mean, it's amazing, and I think it's gonna be hot.
It will. It will. And my associate sent me an email, I think yesterday, and he's like, "Here's 3 blogs for the website. It took me about 5 minutes to do. I use this awesome thing called Chat GPT," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I already know all about it."
Yeah, I just made a YouTube video. It'll be available pretty soon for public. How we use ChatGPT for medical marketing.
Yeah,
So I want you to
great.
watch that.
Definitely a good
Cool,
tool.
man. Hey, so it's been so fun. But are you going to be there in our March mastermind meeting in LA?
Yeah, I was trying to look for details on it. I know you have it on the calendar, but I'm planning on being there. Yes.
Cool. Yeah, this is first time we're gonna host in West Coast, so it's not gonna be too far for your trip.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll have to get with you, and I don't know if you have all the details of where it's going to be at and that sort of stuff, because I haven't seen anything on that, but I'll definitely be there.
Details coming up because I'm in the negotiation stage of few hotels.
Gotcha.
It'll be right south of LAX, like 5-minute drive, and then I'm trying to pick one or the other hotel near Manhattan Beach. So it's not in the middle of LA downtown. Yeah. It's supposedly, I've been to one beach above that beach, but supposedly like beautiful area, fun, activities. So, we're planning on having nice in-person mastermind meeting there.
Yeah, when I heard that it was going to be in California, I told my wife, I'm like, let's go down there and let's take the kids and we'll go for a few days, a couple days for the meeting, and then let's just catch a little 3-day, 4-night cruise out of Southern California down to Baja, Mexico, and take the week off, and then come back when we're done. So we're looking at we're looking at maybe doing something like that. So
yeah, I mean, we're right at the beach, and we're already talking to other members. We might just gather up and play a round of golf like day before.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to get out there and lose a dozen golf balls. It'll be fun.
To the ocean, Pacific Ocean, donated to fish, and I'll fish them up.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, hey man. So again, I'm so grateful that you're in our group and helping many other members together, and I'm just so excited to see you grow your business side and your personal level, and your family is doing great, and just creating awesome example of being podiatry doesn't have to be what we are facing. Majority of it are facing, so that's my goal for this show. I want to bring out, some cool people, interesting colleagues that, run their practice different way. And you're definitely one of them, and I'm so happy to bring you out here, chat, hang out. Awesome. Any other last comment you want to make?
No, I'm just going to say, no, thanks for having me. I mean, I can honestly say that, the part of the reason when you sent this invitation out for people to do it, I jumped on it because, I feel like I do have a little bit of a unique story. But I really want to just come out and, talk, chit chat and really thank you for how your mastermind and your just the meetings and the things that we have has really changed the way I practice.
That's
beautiful. I really think without finding your practice, or your mastermind, I'm not so sure I'm still in podiatry, and I mean that seriously. When I had my bad associate, I told my wife, I've got to find something different. I'm done with podiatry.
Yeah, I mean, guy
so,
like you who don't like to give up. If you were about to give up, then
I
that
was
means
ready.
like, yeah, you were
I was
ready.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I mean, I don't know any of you guys possibly listening or watching this. If you feel like you are stuck, again, don't feel like it. There is definitely a way that we can solve together. And if you ever feel like you need help, look at the description below of this video or podcast, and then just reach out to us, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
Life
TJ,
is
feel free to
short, right?
feel free to give people my information. I'm always,
Of course.
I've got a lot of good friends that have gone into private practice that call me nonstop about how I did this, how I did that. And again, I don't claim to be perfect at it, but I'm always willing to give advice.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of mastermind, right? People gather together with like-minded people. We have similar goals, and then we achieve together in a harmonious mindset. And brainstorming. I mean, that's what the mastermind is about, and that's what I think we're doing. Majority of us reaching 7-figure and less headache. That's like makes me so happy to see like colleagues reach to close to full potential. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Yeah,
Right.
I just want you to say thank you again, and then let's hang out
Thank you.
again. I'll see you in one of the Zoom calls, or I'll see you in person in March.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, TJ.
All right, brother.
Take it easy.
See you.
You've been listening to the Podiatry Profits Podcast with Dr. TJ On. To find out more about Dr. TJ On or discover how you can grow your podiatry practice, visit drtjon.com, or you can also get a free copy of Dr. On's best-selling book, Opt Out: How to Take Back Financial Control of Your Private Clinical Practice Without the Hassle of Insurance Companies. Just go to optoutbook.com.